explain what a runner is because I believe you to be one, me to be one. This city's full of them, and runners attract runners. In every family, there's one person who isn't necessarily the smartest, but they're not the most educated. They're not even the best looking, but except maybe in our case. But they're most certainly the most curious.
Yes.
The most driven, the
That
most
is so
desirous
true.
of a different life.
Hi everybody, Ageless Ambitions on Lux Media Studios. I'm here in Hollywood and I have my crew, Nick and Chris. But more importantly, nothing against you guys, but I have one of my favorite friends, Monique Marvez here. She's a stand-up, she's an on-air talent, she's a screenwriter. I can go on and on. Can you help me out with everything that you've
I've done
like everything.
First of all, when you name your crew, I think the dogs need to be included because they put a lot of juju on the place. They put a lot of vibe. People are going to want to know because we'll share this. And I always, I mentioned my dog. So
I'm sorry. This is Little D and Max. Little D used to never come with me to my show because I used to do it before this, not in my house. And Max had to come with me because he's my anxiety guy.
Okay.
But
when you say that, who has the anxiety? You or the dog?
I think it's Max. But
okay,
that's
good.
okay.
Okay.
We squared it off. Now that we're in my house, it can be both of them. So yeah, I'm so glad that you said I needed to introduce my boy.
Absolutely.
Sorry about that. Okay, so let's get going because performer on top of the world. Like
Thank you.
Like, how did you start in your career? Like your backstory. Like, Monique, you're so special to me. I met you through a dear friend of mine.
Yes.
And us. So it's
Yes.
Indira. She helps us make us look as amazing as we can be.
Yeah.
You know?
We're not 38, you and I.
Why did you give it up?
Whatever. My nieces tell me all the time because I shop with them. And when I want to go to like Forever 21, they're like, you can't come in here. Like, they're too old. I'm like, shut up. So
I love Forever 21.
Me too.
Maybe this is no, it's not. From there,
no, that's expensive. I can tell.
No,
I know
not,
the good
but
stuff.
That's okay. That's okay. So backstory.
Okay, well, you know what? No one's ever asked me to go all the way back, so I'm going to go all the way back.
I would love that. Because,
would you really love?
Yes.
Okay, I'm doing it. So first of all, I was born in Miami, Florida, which I'm always fond of saying is the capital of Cuba, because it kind of sort of is and was as a child.
Because you speak fluent.
As easily as I speak English.
Okay.
And it's funny because in LA, when I say I'm Latina, they go, you don't look Mexican. And I'm like, okay, well, let's clarify. There's lots of Latinos, like Venezuelan, Puerto Rican, Cuban, right? Just like there's lots of white people. You have like German, Irish, Scottish, French. But basically,
we don't look at it like that.
Yeah, but people only really want to do the French, so that's all that matters, really. The rest of them just breed because it's cold. But the point I'm making is, I was born in Miami.
I love Miami.
It's a great spot. It's still great. It's been great forever. They call it the Magic City. It's been the Magic City since I was a child, and it's still magical. I was just there last weekend, as a matter of fact. So the upshot is that I was born into a Latino family that was on the rise, so to speak, because my grandmother was brilliant. She was a brilliant businesswoman. She wasn't diplomatic. She wasn't kind. She wasn't grandmotherly. She wasn't attractive, but she was brilliant. And she was attractive when she was young. Later, she looked like Ernest Borgnine. But I've seen pictures when she was super young.
The funny thing about that is some people won't even know who that is. It's
look
this
it up.
Generation.
Look it up. Look it up. So, because he was great. He was a great actor, character actor.
Yes, he was amazing.
With a very specific look.
Yeah.
Definitely. He always looked like him in every movie, and it wasn't good. But anyway, so because of, at that time, oddly enough, mental illness was not discussed. It wasn't a thing, and certainly not among immigrants. And my dad, who was more brilliant than his mother, I'm named after Dominique Fransone in the Fountainhead. My father, who was this really what I call a runner, Christy, and I'm going to explain what a runner is because I believe you to be one, me to be one. This city's full of them, and runners attract runners. In every family, there's one person who isn't necessarily the smartest,
This is so true.
But they're not the most educated. They're not even the best looking, but except maybe in our case. But they're most certainly the most curious.
Yes.
The most driven. The
That is
most
so
desirous
true.
of a different life. And all runners live in this weird conundrum of, look at Chuck. He went to America. Who the hell does Chuck think he is that he left our village? So it's this tug and pull of, go away closer, pull it out deeper. Your family talks smack about you until you show up. And then they're like, she's here, I always say that museums and insane asylums are full of runners. So my father was the runner.
Okay.
And I'm the runner. I'm a second generation. And perhaps even my grandmother to some degree was. And it takes a toll on you. And my father was what they call back in the day, manic depressive.
Wow.
He had mood swings. He wasn't bipolar in what we think of as bipolar now, but he had incredible mood swings. He was very sensitive.
And you knew that back then? Or
oh my goodness, it predates speech.
Oh, really?
I'm very intuitive. And so as a tiny child, I would feel the desire, compulsion to entertain him, to make him laugh.
So he wouldn't be so sad or
right.
down.
And I could feel when he was sliding, and it was, I'd go into this sort of vamp, like I'd make him laugh. I used to put on little variety shows. Now, keep in mind, I was a very chubby child.
Really?
Yes. And so
I would have never known that.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
No.
But my father, being an architect, he always had like bolts of fabric, I suspect, because he was banging interior decorators on the side. But that's how he did it. It was like very Don Draper. So I, as a chubby child, with glasses, by the way, would take those bolts apart and I would tie 2 pieces of fabric with shoestrings and make a bandeau top. And then I would clasp, I had short hair. I would stick a brown towel to my head with and then I would take all the wax off the Gouda cheese and make nails. And I would imitate Cher Bono, who was my idol. And I would sing Half Breed and, I'd put on a whole...
You did the fake nails too?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I just want to tell you.
But quickly. I did mine out of Gouda cheese.
Okay, mine was not Gouda cheese, but it was
the red wax.
No, it was when I went fishing and the sunfish had scales. And we would take them out and make nails out of that too. We thought we were so cool. So that just is so weird.
It was the red pointy wax off the... My mom would scream from the kitchen, what happened to the cheese? Because she was very Catholic, very modest, very against vanity. So my Cher show was very much hidden in the den for my dad. And, my red wax nails and my stolen lipstick. And I formed this bond. And my dad, being an intellectual, didn't want me to be addicted to television. So he would... It's so funny how people are always afraid of something. It was television in that day and, being addicted to TV. So my dad would make me plan what shows I wanted. I had like slots. You're allowed 6 hours of television. All my friends, it was kind of their babysitter. But in our household, I had to let him know on Monday, okay, this week I'm going to watch Laugh-In, which was Monday nights.
Laugh-In.
Star Trek. The Wonderful World of Disney and Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. That was Sunday night. But I had to, the Flintstones, and I had to pick my shows and let my father know.
At least you got to do that.
What I was going to get to watch because he did not want me to just be in front of the TV. He made me read. And so my father made me curious, and I like to think well-read and somewhat intelligent, and a comedian. And I made him happy. And I thought that was a really square deal. So
he wanted you to be a comedian?
Oh, God, no.
No. So wait.
But meaning organically, I became a comedian because that was the best way to manage his emotions.
Right.
And years later, I spoke to...
he didn't know that. He wasn't aware of that.
No, not at all. He thought I was going to be some sort of, really important person.
But you are. That's what's so crazy.
But he was proud of me.
Right, right. So Laugh-In was a big deal back in the day.
Laugh-In was huge. And we loved it.
Goldie Hawn.
Goldie Hawn was the sock it to me girl.
And the way they opened up those doors and said a little joke at the time. People that they don't have things like that anymore.
No, comedy's such a subjective thing, and it's an art. It's that kind of stuff. Oh, don't start on hee haw. That's my favy right there. But even hee haw, I'm going to tell you right now. I showed my niece a junior sample joke from 1972. 2 peanuts were walking down the street and one was assaulted. Still funny. But my nieces were like, why is that funny? A peanut was hurt. Like, they missed the point. Like, they didn't even get it because they're
so worried about people being assaulted these days.
Yeah. They're like, was it a female peanut? What does it identify as? You know, it's like, it's no, you know what I mean? Like,
oh
but,
my goodness.
But
so that's how your like instincts for making people laugh.
Yeah, vamping and entertaining was to sort of stop the slide and get my dad, you know, get him back on the chain gang, get him good.
That must have been hard, like seeing somebody down or however we want to say
it. It was terrible.
And to live that, it's not easy.
It was very challenging.
And for you to recognize that, where most people don't even understand what that is, so they don't even want to go there.
Yeah,
they kind of want to pull away even more.
No, I'm a lean into it because that's the only way to fix it.
See?
Yeah, it's kind of
that.
No, people, their car engines making noise, they turn up the volume. I'm like, no, no, get in there, tighten a belt, you know?
So, okay.
So I'm like the happiest person in the world. You know me to be very happy. And comedy is tragedy plus time. And most comedians are not happy people. Right. You know, they just aren't. And I don't want to live like that. I want to listen to Pink Floyd because it's good music, not because I'm high. I mean, I do love Pink. When I tell people I love Pink Floyd, they're like, and you don't do drugs? And I'm like, no. And they're like, are you sure? I'm like, of course I'm sure I don't do drugs. What, are you crazy? But I love Pink Floyd.
Right. Okay,
yeah.
So that was in your what? How old were you then?
As my childhood was my childhood. Like I say, it predates speech. I've always had this weird understanding with my father. Like
So then did you get into some kind of contest at school?
No, I was a nerd. I was in the gifted program. I was a nerd. I read the World Book Encyclopedia for pleasure. Like I was the unfunniest, I was, but here's what's so, like people say like, why are you a comedian? It's like, cause I figured out how to make a living and what got me smacked, divorced, and fired. Like, I don't tell jokes. I tell the truth and wrap it in bacon so people will eat it because you're going to be happy. You just made my entire career in 2 sentences. That's how brilliant you are. If you lean into truth, it really will set you free. Mm-hmm. And if you allow yourself to look at something through the comedic lens of comedy is tragedy plus time, you give me a horrible childhood story, the worst. I'll give you a really bad one in a minute. You'll love it. The worst. I'll figure out the joke. Okay. So here's a great story. One of my favorite people in the world. She wouldn't care if I told you this. She's been my hairdresser on and off since I was 21. She texted me this morning. I adore her. She's like my stage mom.
Right.
So I've known her forever. I knew she was a recovered heroin addict. When I met her, she was on methadone in the 80s. No, crazy story, like breaking out of rehab, crazy stories. So one day we go to New York together. I can tell you when, 1997, because she said, if you let me stay in your hotel room, I'll do your hair for comic relief. I was doing comic relief. She wanted to see Whoopi. She loved Whoopi Goldberg, but also we got to see.
So you performed with her?
Like, well, I was at Comic Relief. I didn't perform with Whoopi, but I was there. I was there.
Wow, that's so cool.
It's a big deal.
Yes.
I mean, it's 1997, but hey, still good. Still a good story. So we go to New York. We stay in a hotel that doesn't even exist anymore near Columbus Circle. And it was just a wonderful trip. Whoopi, Robin Williams had just won the Oscar. It was a big deal. Billy Crystal, it was a big deal. It's a wonderful time. She did my hair. We went to the Brooklyn Diner. And as we're sitting in the Brooklyn Diner in New York, she points to a corner and goes, I used to be a hooker there. Now, keep in mind, at this point, I've already known her for, 15 years. Yeah. So P.S., she tells me the whole story. You want to hear a great, horrible, amazing story? She's a disaster hooker on drugs. Long, weird story, right? And she meets a man, and the older man, and he loves her. And he starts helping her and saying, like, I don't want you to do this. Mm. And she says, you want to help me? And he says, yeah. And she said, marry my mom. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah. Well, what is your mom? My mom's a hairdresser. So she takes him to I'm talking a long time ago, takes him to the salon, points through the window. That's my mom. They go and they get a sack lunch. He eats lunch in the park with her mom and marries her and puts my friend through rehab several times, puts her through beautician school, like wouldn't give up on her.
Wow.
Right? She tells me this horrific, bizarro story, escaping rehab, the whole 9 yards. And at the end of the story, she goes, what do you think? I said, well, at least you don't have to worry about your stepfather molesting you. Like that, you know what I mean? Like after all of that, you know what I mean?
Okay.
After all of that.
Okay.
Because at this point, everybody was long gone and dead. But and she's almost, she's in her 70s that I can fathom. So her age is a mystery. But, but that being said, the beauty of it is I have no judgment. It's like it worked out. Mm-hmm. Your mother lived a good life. This man helped you. Who cares what the origin story is? Who cares?
Right.
And that's what comedy is. It's taking those things that create shame and upset and dragging them out in the light and going, so what? Mm-hmm. You give me something horrible, I'll give you 5 minutes of awesome material.
Wow.
Yeah, not usually that fast. I was on my game that day.
You were on your game? Well,
I was totally on my game.
No, what was so great for me is when, after we met, Johnny, my ex-husband, has a new comedy club. And I'm like, Monique, we got to go up there. And this is before he redid it and everything.
Right.
And I
said,
it was
February 12th, 2020. I have one of those weird memories.
Are
it's
you
not
serious
exactly
right
Mary Lou Henner, but it's freaky.
Okay, so people might not even know who she is in this world.
Okay,
ours,
she
right?
was on Taxi. Look her up while you're looking up Ernest Borgnine.
Right? So, I mean, I get it because yeah, we can relate.
Yes.
But we went to the comedy club. He hadn't redone it or anything, but he was still putting on shows before the pandemic.
And I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
You weren't feeling well. You went out of your way for me. You were sick. You may have even had COVID.
Maybe I did.
You were really sick, remember?
I think I was.
And you told me, you were so sweet. You were like, because I was leaving for a cruise, and you're like, I want you to meet Johnny. I'm taking you myself.
Right.
And you had that really good smelling stuff from Sephora that smelled like coconuts. You're like, put this on your hands.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I listened to everything you tell me.
Okay, so we went there, and I introduced you to Johnny, and all of a sudden he's like, do you want to go up and perform? And you're like, hell yeah.
I'm here.
And she was like the hit of the night. You can just get up on a stage, Monique, and just do it. Like, amazing.
I'm way better at that than life. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm hilarious. Like, if anybody goes, would you like to perform? Like, I get out on your balcony now with a megaphone and go, hey, Hollywood Boulevard, let's do this. Like, I'm great. Put me on a date with a guy, me, one-on-one, disaster. Disaster.
Why?
Because I'm missing parts.
Right.
Like IKEA furniture, when you put it together, there's always parts that didn't go in, and you're wondering, like, is this going to fall apart like that? That's me. Like, I'm missing filter, guile, game face, give an F. Like, I'm missing so many things that, especially women and minority women, approval-seeking women, all that is not inside of me. I was on a date recently with a man, and he said, I got to tell you something. I'm not googly-eyed over you, which is a dumb dude statement. It's just guys do that. I'm not googly-eyed over you, but I'm very comfortable. He goes, I've never been more comfortable around a woman, and you're so easy to be with. And I took it in, and like another one would have been like, what do you mean? Not me. I just waited a second. I go, I got news for you. I'm not googly-eyed for you either. I said, but we're both attractive people that are successful, and I'm sure we've both had our fair share of googly, and it went well until it didn't. It was a good time. I said, maybe googly isn't the way to go now. You know what I mean? Like, maybe hanging out and liking each other is a way better fit.
Right. Because that's the thing that happens. Everybody just they don't know anybody. They get together very quickly, and they don't really understand who each other are.
Yeah.
And then it just fades out because they really didn't know each other.
Yeah.
So it's better to not.
But
be
I'm not
googly.
like that little like, ooh, I think if I were more like what he's used to, he might be googly. But I think he met me and he liked me, and he's like, I don't know about this. And I think he might even still be doing that, but he keeps calling. So.
Okay, that's pretty good. I love that. Okay, so anyway, you got to go up on stage and you just killed it. So you're so good at that. What have you done? Like, you've done so many things. I think you did something with Snoop Dogg.
Oh yeah, Snoop Dogg.
Tell me.
Well, I have 4 SHOWTIME specials that went from SHOWTIME to Netflix to Hulu, because these things live on and get sold and moved around. And so I did Snoop Dogg. My first one was Latin Divas of Comedy, and that went very well. That led to Snoop Dogg Presents the Bad Girls of Comedy, and my own 1 hour, Not Skinny, Not Blonde.
I think I saw him doing that show. He did more than one, right?
Yeah, it was a group of us.
Okay.
Tiffany Haddish wasn't a big star then.
Okay.
Tiffany's on it with me.
Okay.
And she's great, of course.
Yes. Yes.
With her tag line, She Ready. She does it there.
Okay.
It's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did Snoop Dogg Presents the Bad Girls of Comedy, and my own 1 hour, Not Skinny, Not Blonde.
That's the one I want to talk about.
It's about me. And
Yeah, that's a book though, or is it not a book, but some kind of
well, it's a
DVD
libretto.
or something?
It was a libretto. Well, it's a 1 hour comedy special.
So you can get that.
Yes,
get that
you
online.
can get all of them. And in
Okay.
fact, so much of it's on YouTube because
Oh.
you can't help it. People
Right.
just rip stuff and you're constantly pulling it down. And it's a full-time job.
Right.
In fact, somebody called me last year and they said, "You're on TikTok, trending." I'm like, "How can I be trending on TikTok? I'm not on TikTok. It's Chinese spyware." That's my belief and I'm sticking to it. And anyway, so I go on, I get it
TikTok?
on my burner phone. Obviously, I'm not putting it on the good one. I put it on the gangster drug dealer phone. And I get my own, because people say you should at least have your own name so someone can't take it. So I get my own account and I search on TikTok, #Monique Marvez, almost 1 million views.
Really?
Yeah, people just rip my stuff. And then it's so weird to see my voice coming out of other people's mouths.
Really?
Well, I have this bit that was kind of probably a precursor to Tinder. It's in I believe it might be in Not Skinny Not Blonde. So it's 2011 when I filmed that. And I do a bit where I say, men walk through the world looking at women. Doable, not doable. Doable, not doable. Doable, not doable. You know, I don't know if I want to do her, but I want to see her naked. I said, the sad part is women walk through the world the same way. Am I prettier than her? Am I prettier than her? She's way prettier than me, but she's probably stupid. But that was the bit. It's very clean. It's very precise. Well, one chick's got 22,000 views, and there's like 17 people have recorded that bit.
Oh, they take your voice and then they do stuff with it.
I think they just like saying doable, not doable.
Right,
I think people
right.
certain jokes get traction
Right.
because, like songs, comedy has a rhythm, it has a vibe, and certain bits of mine people
So
just
they use that into their own, like,
or they lip sync it.
mm-hmm,
I have a ton of people that lip sync my
Right.
comedy bits, and I'm watching a man, and my voice is coming out of his face. It's freaky.
you can't do anything about that.
No, and I don't make a penny. But I mean, people. The cool thing is, it's brought me to another generation of people.
That's good.
It's great.
Right?
They look for me and they're like, "Oh my God, for being old, you're really funny."
You're not old.
No, I don't
Not
think
even
I'm
close.
old either. But I'm just saying. Last night, I was at this. It's called the Mermaid Hour at the Improv, and they were talking about being older millennials and like, you know, having almost fisticuffs with Gen Zers, and I'm like, "You're kidding me, right? Like, all of you are just privileged little, you know."
We won't go there.
Yeah,
Like, in
no.
terms of-
But you get my point. Is
Yeah.
like, it's just funny to hear like 40-year-old people talking like, "Oh, I know what's going on in the world." It's like, are you kidding me? Like,
Right.
no. So
No.
then I went up and did what I do.
And
Turned the whole room like,
it just changed everything.
yeah.
Like,
People kept coming
seriously.
up to me going, "Oh my God, I could listen to you forever."
Right.
You know?
Because these younger guys don't know yet.
No,
Like,
because
they're-
comedy is about, it's
like
an
you
art.
said, the truth.
It's the truth. It's embedded in you. It's not like, so I'm in Jamba Juice, you know, like a joke, like, you know,
like it's not just a script.
no. And
That's
it's
what
not-
they're doing.
Well, because they just want to get traction on YouTube or TikTok. It's a difference between a musician and a musician. Like,
Right.
this town's full of musicians. How many of them are Ben Webster playing Time After Time, you know?
Right. Right. Zero.
Tom Waits, you know?
That's because it's just a
Leonard
different
Cohen.
generation.
You know what I mean? Like,
Millennials at this time, I think it's like.
and I'm not knocking.
No,
I'm
but-
just saying there's got to be a foundation.
that's my
A
thing.
foundation.
That's what I used to tell my dancers. Like, you guys want ATM dancing. Like, you just want to be able to.
ATM dancing, I
Right?
love that.
They just can go and get it. Like, go get the money. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have
No.
to study. You have to train.
Foundation.
And it takes a lot of practice, and it takes a lot of
Desire.
It takes a lot of a lot of inner like thoughts and inner, like, it's just not done. Like,
If it were easy, like,
Yeah.
who's the new Gordon Lightfoot? Who's going to write If You Could Read My Mind, Love? Who's going to do that? Not
Nobody.
GBT chat, my friend.
no,
No.
no.
You know, and that's, you know, I think about it and I ask my nieces, I'm like, because think about humping. Well, I do a lot. And, and people,
Wait, say that again.
I said, think about humping.
Okay.
I do it a lot, meaning I think about it a lot. I haven't gotten to do it a lot, but I think about it a lot. And remember when you used to have like playlists, when you'd have somebody over and you would play, like, you had a playlist and you had, you know, you set it up on your computer and you had it open with a speaker or whatever. And you would have, you know, hello, like, I think of it. I told my nieces, I go, everybody Auntie Monique used to hump to is dead. You know, Prince, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Natalie Cole, I mean, Barry White's been dead a minute, but I mean, look at the guy was like 400, but but even like you just keep going down the list, and then I say like, Luther Vandross, like Luther singing Superstar. So I asked my nieces, I'm like, who do people get busy to now? Auntie Monique needs a playlist. I need to update. I want to manifest this. And they're like, Ed Sheeran. I'm like, who could get moist with like a red-headed Muppet? You know what I mean? Like, ugh. Like, what? Like the thought of, like, that would make me not want to have sex. Right. If I was super horny and somebody put on Ed Sheeran, I would be like, oh, I'm going to go home now.
That's so true, right? It's just different.
Yeah.
It's just not the same. Like George Benson, like things that had substance, like you just said from the very beginning. Like,
but it's exciting that there are, little thought leaders with their little Frankenstein torches that rediscover and go like, hey, has anybody ever heard of Steely Dan?
I love Steely Dan.
Because I got to tell you something. Oh, your crew is excited about Steely Dan.
Yes.
Thank you. You know that Steely Dan is actually the name of a vibrator. That's where they got the name for Steely Dan. It's if you look.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that look stuff up because I'm curious. No, I'm a very curious person. I'm like Curious George. But you know what I love? That's what I'm saying. Like shows like Stranger Things put Kate Bush back on the map. That 19-year-olds are excited about running up that hill. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there is a God.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just so shallow kind of feeling.
It can feel that way.
And that's I don't know. It's just different. That's the same thing I felt about when dancers, when I taught dance for so long, and
which is just so obvious looking at your calves.
Oh, thank you. But
and for being over 38, I mean, honestly, both of us have very nice ankles. Neither one of us has cankles or veins. You're looking at us. We got some nice stems between the two of us.
I love it.
Believing Before Seeing, a new book by Candace Barr, teaching you how to believe into existence. Available now for pre-order.
So what I wanted to say is, teaching kids and knowing what I've done all my life, they just don't understand what it takes to dig deep and really do the work. And that's what you're saying in your field isn't happening anymore. And that's why you are still somebody that can just go up and do something and people like, oh, wow, because it's just not done that way anymore.
Mm-mm. No,
like,
they do 15-minute increments. A lot of people people say like, how much time have you got? I'm like, no, the question is how much time have you got?
Right.
Like I could be up here 2, 3, 4 hours and I'm just scratching my material.
Right. And they just don't know.
Mm-mm.
And that's the thing that's missing, I believe, in the field of anything entertainment. I can barely watch movies. I can barely watch
that's
television.
why when a good one comes along, people lose their biz because they're like, what? Somebody just wrote that? Like it moves you.
But it does move you. But that used to be the norm.
The norm.
You could go and watch a movie every week.
Yeah, and it was exciting.
And it was exciting. And that's the same thing with you. I think first of all, you did a radio show.
I was on
back.
KFI. Well, I've been on the radio on different cities, but I was on KFI here.
You won a contest.
Well, actually, I that was my second job in radio.
Okay.
My first job, which is an even better story, I was in Indianapolis. I was broke. Bald
How'd
tires.
You get to Indianapolis from Miami to?
No, I lived in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
And I went to Indianapolis to do a comedy club.
Okay.
And as they do, back in the early 2000s, you'd be a guest on a morning radio show so that they would, you could promote Uncle Chuckle's Hut or whatever. They all have these weird names. This one, honestly, I'm afraid to say because it's in Indiana, right? You know what color people are in Indiana? Yeah. And the club was called Crackers. I'm not even making it up. You can look online. Okay. So I'm promoting Crackers. And it's funny to say that now. And so I'm with this hostess, her name's Julie Patterson. And she says, so how do you want me to set you up? I'm like, you don't have to set me up. Just do whatever you're going to do and I'll jump in.
Okay.
Right. So here we are, summer of 2003. She's reading the news. She says, blah, 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 Scott Peterson. I go, guilty, totally did it. And she's like, how do you know? I said, when a man gives away a woman's jewelry, he knows she's not coming back. Like, forget all the other evidence. He gave her Lacey's jewelry to Amber Fry. End of story. Like, if I was a district attorney, I go like, this is my first piece of evidence. Be like, done. You're going to the chair, you know? So I just kept doing that about other things. And then the hotline, you know, whenever there's a hotline, it goes like, like that, right? Because they can't ring. And the board op picks up the phone. He's like, And then Julie's this very uptight air talent, you know. And she's like, is it about the show? And he goes, yeah. The guy's name's Jim Cerrone. And is it about someone on the show?
Yeah.
He goes, He goes, her? You know, like, yeah. And then she says, what is it? During a commercial break. And he goes, our boss just called and said, don't let that woman leave this building without me meeting her. And I went from being broke, living in Koreatown, like broke, to basically they flipped an entire format for me and gave me a 2-year contract, 6-figure job.
In Indianapolis.
Yeah. So that was my first job. Like, they flipped an entire format for me. Real 97.1, real talk, real music. And the show was called Monique and the Man. And he, after an homage to Chico and the Man. So I'm like broke. And
People don't even know who that is.
No, they can look it up when they're looking up Ernest Borgnine and Mary Lou Henner. So we went to the Starbucks on Monument Circle in Indianapolis. And he says to me, Shirley, my life could not be so awesome that I would offer you a job and you would take it. And I said, don't call me Shirley, and how much are you going to pay me? And the next thing I knew, I was, you know, old Jedson millionaire. I was packing up the truck.
Oh my gosh.
And I did radio for 2 years in Indy. And then there was a contest, the $1 Million Morning Show contest in San Diego.
Okay, yes, San Diego.
It was my second job in radio. I won a contest that everybody applied to for $1 million, and I did get paid $1 million. I got paid more than $1 million, and I did radio in San Diego for 4 years.
Nice.
And then from there, I came up here and did KFI.
Wow.
Yeah.
Monique, this show is called Ageless Ambitions.
Oh, everything I've done old. I am the definition of late bloomer.
It's not about.
No, but I mean, meaning I got my first radio show in my 40s. I got my first Showtime special in my 40s. I got my own 1 hour. I was almost 49 years old. I shot it in the summer when I was 48. My birthday, September.
So it doesn't
I'm just
matter.
getting started.
Getting started. That's what's happening with us right now. That's what I'm so excited for people to hear and learn about your story. I want them to come and see you wherever you're at. So we're going to put up all kinds of information.
Thank you. If they just follow me, it's on my website.
Okay,
I'm in town at the Comedy Store. I want to tell you one more thing.
Okay.
Because I know you're rapping.
We're not going to.
Oh, we're not rapping
Go ahead.
yet?
No,
okay.
No, go ahead.
I have my own verb for us based on my personal hero that I always plug.
Okay.
Okay. There's a swimmer who is named Diana Nyad.
Okay.
And I don't know if you're familiar with her.
I don't know her.
She was a power swimmer, and she swam when I was a child. She was at the University of Miami training, but when I was like, I don't know, maybe middle school or 10th grade, she tried to swim from Cuba to Miami. There's been a documentary. She's been in a shark cage. During the bicentennial, she swam around Staten Island. She swam the English Channel. Her name's Diana Nyad. And, you know, she's not a household word, but she will be. They're making a movie about her life with major people in it. I don't think I'm at liberty to say. But she was my personal hero, me being from Miami and her being a swimmer. She started trying to make that swim in, let's say, 1977 for the sake of this conversation. When I was on the air on KFI in the summer of 2013, she was in her 60s. She swam from Miami to Cuba. And I was on the air, and I was crying watching it live. And I said on the air, I said, this bee, I'll be careful for sponsors.
It's okay.
Yeah. I said, this bee started swimming when I first got my period. I am now perimenopausal, and she is still swimming. Like, she has been swimming my entire adult life as a woman. She has been swimming. And I was sobbing. As luck would have it, I met her at the party of another old broad, Betsy Johnson, at a swimsuit party on Sunset Boulevard, swimsuit collection. And she's a petite person in person. And I walked up to her and I said, what is your name? And she said, Diana. I said, Diana what? And she said, Diana Nyad. And I knew it. And I went bananas. I said, oh my God, you're my hero. I'm more excited meeting you than I would be meeting Oprah. And I went on and on and on. She's like, and who are you, crazy person? Like, she didn't say that, but I said, I'm on I'm on the radio. I'm on KFI. Lily Tomlin listens to my show. She goes, oh, if Lily likes you. Anyway, so she came on.
Nobody knows who Lily Tomlin.
Oh my, yeah, Frankie and Grace and Frankie. They do know.
It's a new movie
yes,
out right
popular.
now.
Yeah,
Okay,
show.
so
yes, they know Lily Tomlin.
Okay, Lily Tomlin.
So I said, please come on my show. She did. We became friends.
Nice.
Friends with my biggest idol. And I said, Diana, I'm a wordsmith. I'm going to invent a word for you. Naiading it. It's a verb. It means crushing it later in life. And I personally am naiading it. I am naiading it, people.
Do you see that? I love it.
Yeah.
That's our ageless ambition thought for today.
Yeah. I couldn't bring back jive turkey. I tried. So we're naiading it.
So, Monique, tell everybody what you're up to, where you're going, what maybe things you have coming up in the future that we can reach out and make sure that we come and see you wherever you're at.
Thank
Is there
you.
A place that we
Yes.
can go?
Well, they can go to MoniqueMarvez.com for all things Monique. And it's Marvez. You said it perfectly. Thank you. Because people say Marquez, Montez, Marvez. Monique, Monique. I use my own name on all my socials, Monique Marvez, at Monique Marvez, because it's a made-up name, meaning Marvez was Marvezi. When my family moved to Venezuela, they cut off the ZI. All Marvezes are related. There's only one Monique Marvez on social media. I don't have to be Monique Marvez 1 or Monique Hype. No,
It's you.
just me. I got a distant cousin, Gianna Monique Marvez. She's a poser. And her name's Gianna. But Monique Marvez, I'm the only one. Like Tigger.
Listen, thank you so much for being here, Monique. You are so special to me.
And you're
You're
to me.
amazing. You are just everything that comes to me when it comes to entertainment and performing.
Thank you.
I love it, and it's a craft that very many people do not have, and you have it.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here with me today, and thank you, everybody. Ageless Ambitions on Lux Media Studios. We're so happy that you were here, and we can't wait for you to come back.